The galaxy had never seen anything like it. From the icy moons of Zephoria to the bustling trade stations of Cathal, every civilization paused in awe. Ships larger than mountains, silver and shining with a soft inner light, moved in perfect formation, gliding through the void as if the stars themselves had cleared a path for them. These were Terran ships, the pride of humanity, and they carried with them a presence the galaxy could not ignore. Rumors had traveled faster than light. The Terran fleet was coming. And now, here it was. Commander Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the flagship Dauntless, her hands lightly resting on the console, eyes reflecting the swirling colors of distant nebulae. She felt the weight of history on her shoulders. For centuries, humanity had been overlooked, a small, fragile species on a quiet blue planet. Their scientists, engineers, and dreamers had whispered of a day when humans would rise among the stars, and that day had come. "Status report," Elena said, her voice calm but firm. The bridge crew responded in unison, their voices steady despite the tension. Sensors confirmed the positions of dozens of Terran ships, each perfectly aligned, their engines glowing like distant suns. Every system was operational, every weapon and shield ready. Beyond the viewport, the galaxy waited. Alien fleets paused in orbit, sensors trained on the newcomers. Emperors, governors, and generals, rulers who had never feared defeat, felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. The Terran ships moved not with arrogance but with purpose. There was a quiet power in that. Elena's thoughts drifted to Earth. She thought of the generations of humans who had trained for this moment. Farmers, teachers, engineers, parents, children, all who had built a civilization that had learned to survive every challenge. Humanity had endured wars, plagues, and natural disasters. They had reached for the stars not because they wanted power, but because they had no other choice. The bridge was silent for a moment. Then Elena broke the quiet. "Remember, this is not just a demonstration. Every move we make represents every human who ever lived. We are the sum of their courage, their hope, and their sacrifices. We do not enter orbit to intimidate. We enter to survive, and to show the galaxy that humans are here to stay." Her words were met with nods. The crew, young and old, veteran and rookie, felt a surge of pride. They were not just soldiers, they were symbols, and they understood that the galaxy would remember this moment forever. Suddenly, a signal blinked on the main console. A Zirath scouting vessel appeared on sensors, small but fast, and clearly trying to gauge the Terran strength. Its presence was a warning. The Zirath Empire, the most powerful force in this sector, would not ignore this arrival. Elena leaned forward. "So it begins," she murmured, almost to herself. Despite the looming threat, Elena felt a strange calm. Fear had its place, but courage had more. She had seen it in humanity's history, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Now it was time for humanity to show the stars what courage looked like. Outside, the Terran fleet entered orbit around the contested planet. The blue and green sphere looked peaceful, untouched by the chaos that awaited above. Yet the quiet beauty made Elena's heart ache. She thought of the billions of humans who would never see this moment, who had dreamed of exploration and discovery. They had built this future with their hands, and now the galaxy would see it for the first time. Sensors detected alien eyes watching from every direction. Even creatures who had never known compassion or mercy paused. The Terran fleet did not shout. It did not attack. It simply existed, moving with precision, strength, and an undeniable presence. The galaxy could sense something new. Humanity was not just another species. They were something more. A force shaped by struggle, resilience, and hope. Elena's voice cut through the quiet hum of the bridge. "Hold your positions, observe, remember who we are. The galaxy will remember this day, but we will remember each other." As the sun of the planet rose across the surface, glinting off the hulls of Terran ships, a wave of emotion swept through the bridge. All pride, fear, and determination mingled. The galaxy was holding its breath, and humanity had finally arrived to claim its place among the stars. The moment stretched on, silent and infinite, and for the first time humans did not feel small. They felt eternal. The galaxy had felt awe when the Terran fleet arrived. But awe could not stop an empire built on fear. The Zirath Empire, rulers of this sector for centuries, could not tolerate the presence of these new humans. Their fleets were vast, disciplined, and merciless, and now their sensors had caught the silver gleam of Terran ships. Panic spread quietly through their command stations. These humans. They were different. On the bridge of the Dauntless, Commander Elena Voss studied the readings with calm precision. The Zirath fleet was massive, stretching across orbit like a dark storm ready to strike. Every sensor ping revealed warships designed for domination, weapons capable of wiping out planets. And yet Elena's chest swelled with confidence rather than fear. Humanity had never faced such odds before, but it had always found a way. "Commander," Lieutenant Rian spoke, voice tight with anticipation. "Sensors confirm multiple Zirath war zones activating. They're moving to intercept. We might not have the advantage in numbers." Elena nodded, her eyes scanning the stars, tracing the enemy movements. "Numbers don't win battles, Ryan. Strategy does. Heart does. Humanity does." Her voice was calm, but it carried a weight that resonated through the bridge. Every crew member understood. This was more than a fight for survival. This was a test of everything humanity had ever been. As the first Zirath ships appeared on the horizon, a ripple of tension ran through the Terran fleet. Their weapons glowed, shields hummed, and engines thrummed like living hearts. The humans were ready, but the moment hung heavy with uncertainty. One wrong move could cost them everything. Elena activated the communication channel. "This is Commander Elena Voss of the Terran fleet. We come in peace, but we are prepared to defend ourselves. Leave this system and there will be no bloodshed. Resist, and you will meet human resolve." For a heartbeat silence. Then the Zirath responded, a voice like grinding steel. "Humans are insignificant. You do not belong here. Prepare for destruction." The message ended, leaving only the cold hum of space. "Here it comes," Ryan muttered. The first salvo of Zirath fire streaked across the void. Terran shields flared, absorbing the brunt of the assault. Explosions lit up the darkness, painting the stars with fire. Yet, despite the chaos, the Terran ships moved with precision, weaving and coordinating in ways the galaxy had never seen. Elena's voice was steady as she gave orders. "Focus on Formation Delta, cover the flanks. Protect the cruisers. Adapt and overcome." Every command was met instantly, every maneuver executed flawlessly. Humanity had trained for this, not just for skill but for ingenuity. The ability to think under pressure, to act when fear threatened to paralyze. Amid the battle, a young pilot hesitated. His fighter trembled as a massive Zirath destroyer bore down on him. Elena noticed immediately, her heart tightening. "Do not falter," she whispered, though the comms were silent. Then she acted, diverting a wing of fighters to cover the young human. The destroyer was damaged, the pilot survived, and the crew exhaled collectively. Humanity did not abandon its own. The Zirath were stunned. They had expected a fight, yes, but they had not expected such coordination, such resilience. The Terran fleet did not simply survive, they adapted, they learned, and they pressed forward. Across the galaxy, eyes widened as sensors relayed the battle's outcome. Even long-standing enemies paused, realizing that humans were not ordinary. Hours passed in a blur of light, fire, and strategy. Elena's mind was a calm storm, calculating every possible move. The Terrans absorbed the Zirath assault, striking where it mattered most. Human ingenuity shone in every tactical decision, in every maneuver that turned potential disaster into opportunity. And yet amid the chaos, there was beauty. The glow of human engines against the blackness of space, the precise arcs of weapons fire, and the quiet bravery of the crew illuminated something that no weapon could destroy. Hope. This hope was contagious. Across the galaxy, species who had never allied with humans felt the stirrings of something extraordinary. Elena knew this was just the beginning. The Zirath Empire would not yield easily, but for the first time she sensed a truth the galaxy had never acknowledged. Humans were not just another species. They were relentless. They were daring, and they were ready to show the universe that courage was stronger than fear. As the Terran fleet held its ground against overwhelming odds, the galaxy watched in silent awe, not as conquerors, not as invaders, but as humans, resilient, fearless, and unstoppable. The challenge had arrived, but so had humanity's moment, and it would be remembered forever. The Terran fleet had held the line. Yet even in victory, doubt crept quietly into the hearts of humans. Commander Elena Voss watched the battle unfold from the bridge of the Dauntless, her fingers resting lightly on the console. Explosions flickered across the void, alien ships breaking apart in brilliant bursts of fire. It was a triumph of strategy, skill, and courage, but it had come at a cost. A young pilot, barely out of training, had faltered during a crucial maneuver. His fighter spun dangerously close to a Zirath, dreadnought, weapons firing in a deadly arc. Elena's heart skipped. One mistake could cost him his life and perhaps endanger the entire fleet. Her voice, calm yet commanding, rang through the comms. "Focus, adjust your trajectory. We've got you." The pilot's hand shook visibly on the controls, sweat glistening on his brow. He was human like all of them, fragile, untested, yet filled with potential. The Zirath destroyed him, or so it seemed for a moment as the enemy ship bore down, but the Terran fleet moved as one, a living organism of steel, light, and willpower. Another pilot swooped in, shielding the faltering rookie. The Zirath fire missed by inches. The young human breathed again, trembling but alive. Elena felt a rush of emotion, pride, relief, and a pang of sorrow for those lost or injured. Humanity was fragile, yet in these moments it was unbreakable. She whispered to herself, "Humans endure." It was not just a statement, it was a promise to every human who had come before, to every life that would come after. Around her, the bridge crew worked in near silence, minds focused on calculations, trajectories, and the chaos of battle. Yet even in their concentration, there was a pulse of something greater. The galaxy was watching, and humans knew that this was more than a fight. It was proof that they could stand against any force, no matter how formidable. Sensors picked up communications from distant allies and neutral civilizations. Across the void, beings who had never spoken to humans before murmured in awe. They adapt. They do not yield. They survive. It was a realization that rippled through the galaxy like the first hint of dawn after a long night. Humanity had become more than flesh and bone. It had become a force of will. Elena's thoughts drifted to Earth, to the billions of humans who would never see these stars but had made this day possible. Farmers, engineers, parents, teachers, they had nurtured a species that could now reach across the galaxy and challenge the mightiest empire it had ever known. Every human was represented in this battle. Every struggle, every sacrifice, every dream had led to this moment. Yet doubt still lingered. Even Elena wondered if they could truly succeed. The Zirath Empire was relentless and their fleets seemed endless. But for every doubt there was action. For every fear there was courage. The humans on the bridge, in their fighters and aboard every ship, moved with purpose that went beyond instinct. They fought not because they were fearless, but because they refused to surrender to fear. A distress call came from a Terran cruiser under heavy attack. Elena's jaw tightened. The crew responded instantly, rerouting shields, dispatching reinforcements, and coordinating counterattacks. One by one, each ship found its rhythm, turning what could have been disaster into opportunity. Humanity did not retreat. Humanity did not break. Humanity endured, and across the galaxy observers felt it too. The Zirath commanders, arrogant and unshakable for centuries, felt their confidence falter. They had underestimated humans. They had believed in numbers, weapons, and fear, but humans had something more: determination, ingenuity, heart. Elena took a deep breath, staring at the stars beyond the viewport. She saw not only the battle but the potential it held, the chance to redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. Every moment of doubt had been met with courage, every hesitation with resolve. Humans were fragile, yes, but in their fragility lay strength. They were capable of enduring loss, facing fear, and still moving forward. As the Terran fleet stabilized its positions, the young pilot finally found his courage. His fighter aligned perfectly, shields glowing, weapons ready. He was no longer afraid. He was a human, and humans did not surrender. The galaxy watched in awe as he executed a maneuver that changed the course of the skirmish, proving that even the smallest life could alter the destiny of millions. Elena smiled softly. The moment of doubt had passed. Humanity had not only survived, it had shined. The galaxy had begun to notice, and in that notice lay hope, not just for humans, but for all who had longed to see courage triumph over fear. The battle was far from over, but one truth was clear. When humans faced the impossible, they did not falter. They endured, and in endurance they became extraordinary. The battle above the contested planet raged on, relentless and unforgiving. The Zirath Empire, confident in its numbers and firepower, believed the Terran fleet would crumble, but humans were not predictable. They moved with precision, instinct, and a determination that no enemy could calculate. Each Terran ship was a testament to centuries of ingenuity, every maneuver a reflection of human resilience. Commander Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, her eyes scanning the chaos on the tactical displays. Explosions lit the void, alien warships shredded into fragments, and yet the Terran fleet maintained its rhythm. Their formation was like a living organism, each ship protecting the others, adapting to attacks faster than any algorithm could predict. "Commander," Lieutenant Rian spoke, urgency in his voice. "Zirath reinforcements are approaching from the northern sector. They intend to trap us between two fleets." Elena's jaw tightened. She had anticipated this move. "Not if we act first," she said calmly. "Split Delta Wing, draw their attention. Echo Wing, prepare for a strike on the command station. Timing is everything." Her orders flowed through the fleet, precise and decisive. Pilots adjusted instantly, their trust in human strategy unshakable. The Terrans didn't panic. They didn't hesitate. They struck with creativity and courage, exploiting weaknesses that the Zirath had never thought to defend. As the humans executed their plan, the first signs of the turning tide appeared. The Zirath fleet, used to absolute control, faltered under the unexpected maneuver. Explosions rocked their formation and communications crackled with confusion. Across the galaxy, sensors recorded the impossible. A human fleet outnumbered was gaining the upper hand. Elena felt a surge of pride. The bridge crew moved like a single mind, their focus absolute. Each decision, each adjustment reflected not only training but instinct and bravery. The young pilot who had faltered earlier now led a strike against a vulnerable Zirath cruiser, executing a daring move that stunned both sides. He was trembling, yes, but his actions were flawless. Humanity did not wait for perfection. They made it in the moment. From orbit, the planet below seemed to hold its breath. Cities trembled as shadows of massive ships crossed the skies. Yet amid the fear there was awe. Civilians and soldiers alike watched the display of courage and skill. Humanity was proving something profound, that even against insurmountable odds, intelligence, heart, and unity could prevail. The Zirath commanders, long accustomed to unquestioned dominance, could feel their authority slipping. Their disciplined fleets were being torn apart not just by weapons but by strategy, adaptability, and courage. They had underestimated humans, and now that mistake was becoming fatal. Elena's voice cut through the hum of the bridge. "Keep pressure on them. Protect the vulnerable ships. Remember, we fight not to destroy but to endure. Every move counts. Every life matters." Her words carried weight, inspiring even the youngest crew members to act with unwavering determination. Amid the chaos, a sacrifice was quietly made. One of the Terran cruisers took a direct hit to protect a cluster of smaller ships, shielding them from annihilation. The crew inside sent final messages home, faces pale but resolute. Their bravery ensured the fleet's survival. Elena felt a heavy pang in her chest. Loss was inevitable in war, but also pride. Humanity did not shy away from responsibility, and they never abandoned their own. As the Terran fleet pressed forward, the Zirath command station itself became a target. Echo Wing executed a daring strike, slipping past defenses and striking at the heart of the enemy's operations. Chaos erupted within the Zirath fleet, their once unshakable formation crumbling under the relentless human assault. For the first time, it seemed the impossible was happening. The Terrans, outnumbered and in foreign space, were not just surviving, they were winning, and the galaxy was watching. Across distant worlds, civilizations paused their own conflicts, awed by the display of human courage. Even enemies began to whisper the same words. They are different. They fight with purpose. They fight with heart. Elena allowed herself a brief smile. The tide was turning, but the battle was far from over. Still, humanity had proven something eternal. That bravery and ingenuity, when guided by heart and determination, could defy any odds. The Zirath Empire would not yield easily, but the Terran fleet had shown them the truth. Humanity did not break. Humanity did not surrender. And humanity, when united, could shift the course of the galaxy itself. Above the planet, the stars seemed to burn brighter, as if witnessing the birth of legend. And for the humans aboard the fleet, one thing was clear. The tide had turned, and the galaxy would never forget the courage of a single species that dared to stand against the impossible. The battle had raged for days, yet the Terran fleet remained unbroken. Humanity had faced overwhelming odds, survived attacks that would have crushed any other species, and emerged with courage that echoed across the galaxy. Commander Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, eyes scanning the aftermath of the latest skirmish. Alien ships drifted in silent defeat, their engines flickering and shields gone. The Zirath Empire, the supposed invincible rulers of this sector, had been forced to retreat. Elena allowed herself a brief moment to breathe. She thought of the countless lives lost, the crew members who had given everything to protect humanity and each other. The cost had been high, yet the victory was undeniable. Across the galaxy, the story of Terran resilience was spreading faster than any weapon could travel. "Commander," Lieutenant Rian said, his voice filled with a mix of relief and awe, "we've received communications from multiple civilizations. They want to ally with us to understand how humanity survived." Elena nodded slowly. The weight of leadership pressed on her shoulders, yet it was tempered with pride. Humanity had shown the universe something it had never seen before. That intelligence, heart, and unity could overcome fear and oppression. They had fought not just for survival, but for the principle that no species should dominate another through terror alone. On the battlefield, Terran pilots executed final maneuvers, guiding the remnants of the Zirath fleet away from the planet. The young pilot who had faltered days ago now led a wing of fighters, his confidence and skill evident. He had learned what Elena had always known. Humans did not run from fear. They transformed it into strength. The Zirath commanders, once so sure of their dominance, now faced a harsh truth. Their fleets were shattered, their authority questioned, and their strategies exposed as inferior to the combination of human ingenuity and courage. Across the galaxy, eyes that had once mocked humanity now watched with respect. The Terrans had not only survived, they had triumphed in a way that inspired hope across star systems. Elena turned to her crew. "We've won a battle, but more importantly, we've shown the galaxy what humans can do. Remember this day. Remember who we are. Humanity endures not because we are the strongest, but because we refuse to break." The bridge crew felt the weight and beauty of her words. They were not just soldiers. They were the living embodiment of centuries of human struggle and aspiration. Every life lost, every challenge overcome had led to this moment, and now the galaxy had witnessed it. As the Zirath ships retreated into the darkness, their pride shattered. The Terran fleet regrouped. Repairs began, systems were checked, and supplies replenished. Yet even in the midst of recovery, Elena knew the most important victory was not in destruction, but in perception. Humanity had shown that bravery, creativity, and heart could challenge even the greatest power in the galaxy. Across distant worlds, news spread quickly. Civilizations that had once doubted humans now spoke in hushed tones of admiration. Scholars, generals, and leaders began to rethink everything they had believed about this small blue planet. It was no longer insignificant. It had become a symbol, a reminder that courage could shift the balance of the universe. Elena allowed herself a small smile. She remembered the sacrifices, the doubts, and the fear, but also the brilliance of her crew. The young pilots, the engineers, the strategists, and every human who had made this possible. They had proven that the smallest species could stand tall, not through brute force alone, but through heart, will, and ingenuity. And in that moment, the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter. The Terran fleet floated above the planet, victorious not as conquerors, but as a beacon of hope. Humanity had earned its place in the galaxy, not by domination, but by showing what it meant to fight for life, for freedom, and for the principles that made them human. Elena knew the journey was far from over. The Zirath would rebuild and challenges would come again, but the story of the Terran fleet had already changed the galaxy. And when the next battle came, every species that had witnessed this triumph would remember: humans do not give up. Humans endure, and humans together are unstoppable. For the first time in history, the galaxy did not fear humanity. It respected them. It admired them. And across the stars, whispers spread. A new era had begun, a Terran era, where courage and heart mattered more than numbers, weapons, or fear. The triumph was complete, but its legacy had only just begun. Humanity had proven its truth, that when faced with impossible odds, when the galaxy expected them to fail, humans could rise and inspire the entire universe to believe in hope once more. Years passed, but the memory of the Terran fleet's arrival never faded. Across the galaxy, civilizations still spoke in awe of that moment, the day humans stepped into orbit and the universe held its breath. Children on distant worlds gazed at the stars, imagining the courage of a species that had faced impossible odds and endured. Humanity had not only survived, it had inspired the galaxy to believe in something greater. Commander Elena Voss had long since left the bridge of the Dauntless. Age and experience had tempered her once fierce energy, but her eyes still held the same spark. She now oversaw the training of a new generation of Terran pilots, engineers, and strategists. These young humans had grown up hearing stories of the fleet, of battles that had seemed impossible, of courage that had reshaped the galaxy. They were ready to inherit a legacy that few species could even imagine. "Elena," one young pilot said, awe in his voice, "how did humans do it? How did we survive against the Zirath? They were unstoppable." Elena smiled softly. "Not because we were stronger, faster, or smarter. We survived because we refused to give up, because we believed in each other, and because we understood that courage is born from hope, not weapons." She paused, letting the words sink in. Every human who fought, every life lost, every decision made, they created a ripple that reached across the stars. That is our true power. Outside the space station's viewports, ships of all kinds traveled through orbit. Alien, human, and hybrids of cooperation forged after the war. Alliances had formed, treaties signed, and even former enemies now approached humanity with respect rather than fear. Humanity's example had rewritten the rules of interstellar diplomacy. Bravery, unity, and compassion mattered more than dominance or force. Elena remembered the sacrifices vividly: the young pilot who had hesitated under fire, the cruiser that had shielded others in a brilliant blaze of courage, the countless faces of humans who had given everything. Each memory was a spark in her heart, a reminder that victory came at a price. But that price had forged something eternal: humanity's place in the galaxy. On one distant world, an alien historian recorded the events in precise detail, noting not just the tactics but the spirit of humanity. They are fragile yet unbreakable, the historian wrote. They face death without surrendering. They inspire hope across the stars. They are unlike any species we have known. These words echoed across systems carried by transmissions, storytellers, and word of mouth. Humanity had become legend. Even the Zirath, who had once believed themselves invincible, were forced to reconsider their view of the universe. Their generals, humbled by defeat, began to study human behavior, not as enemies, but as scholars fascinated by a species that could turn fear into triumph, weakness into resilience. The galaxy had learned a profound truth. Humans could challenge the impossible and, in doing so, redefine what courage meant. Elena watched a young pilot take off in a training simulator, her heart swelling with pride. These children, born long after the great battles, carried the legacy of courage, sacrifice, and unity. They would face new challenges, unknown threats, and unimaginable odds, but they would know what humans were capable of. And humanity's example would guide them. The stars outside seemed brighter now, as if reflecting the light of countless lives that had come together in one monumental moment. The galaxy remembered, and humanity had not only claimed its place among the stars, it had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that even the smallest, most overlooked species could change the course of history. Elena turned from the viewport, her gaze lingering on the young pilots. She whispered to herself, "We endure. We inspire. We rise." She knew the galaxy would continue to challenge humans, but she also knew something eternal. Courage and heart could never be extinguished. Across distant systems, monuments were built, not just to honor human ships and soldiers, but to honor the idea humanity had shown, that resilience, intelligence, and unity could face the impossible. The children who learned these stories dreamed of the stars with determination, and somewhere in every corner of the galaxy a whisper carried through space. When humans arrive, hope follows. Elena smiled, a tear glimmering in her eye. The galaxy had held its breath that day, and humanity had not only survived, it had become its heartbeat. The legacy of courage, of hope, of unyielding spirit would endure forever, and in that enduring legacy, every human who had ever lived, fought, or dreamed was immortal. For the first time, humanity did not look up at the stars in fear. It looked forward, knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, they had already proven one eternal truth: that humans could rise against the impossible, and in doing so, change the galaxy forever.